Now let the beat ride.
What's good, everybody? Welcome to episode 17 of High Chicago. It's your boy, Sean. I'm going to kick it off with my boy, Aaron. Aaron, how you feeling, homie?
Feeling good. I hope that this Steelers-Titans game doesn't get delayed too long.
I hope you don't go out in public wearing baby blue and green.
It's a hat,
That's
bro.
what I hope. JV, what's good, bro? How you feeling?
Bro, I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. How you doing today?
Decent. You know, it's a little early for me
Yeah.
to be awake, but I'm here for it.
Okay.
MC, you look good. How you feeling?
Did you brush your teeth this morning?
Always.
Yes, and I'm feeling good. Y'all
Okay.
are not early birds, I can tell.
Not at all, bro. It's the struggle right now, but it's cool.
see.
Listen, the show must go on. We're going to figure it out. So I think we should talk about what everybody's talking about, right? Was yesterday's presidential debate. So the thing is, I'm not really big into politics, right? I think I said it on previous episodes before. But as somebody who isn't big into politics, watching that, I was hoping to walk away learning something,
No.
right? Maybe it's going to sway me one way or another, or learning what like the debate process is all about, because I've actually never watched a debate either.
Mm-hmm.
And let me just say that my biggest takeaway was, holy shit, we are in trouble.
Yeah.
It's really bad. But we'll go into some specifics in a minute, right? So let me kick it off with the conversation about Chris Wallace, right? Chris Wallace was the moderator of the whole damn thing, and my man lost control 35 seconds into the debate.
Yeah.
Bro.
It was a shit show.
So true.
So Aaron, let me ask you, bro. Number one, how do you think Chris Wallace did overall? And number two, who would you have chosen to run the debate instead of Chris Wallace?
So let's start with the first question. He did a piss poor job. He got talked over majority of it, but I understand it's kind of hard when it feels like you're basically moderating a kindergarten class, because that's what it was with Trump talking over him every single time. It'd be impossible for you to sort of get control of that
I think a
situation.
kindergarten
because,
class
as
would have
we
been
know-
easier to moderate.
True. As we know, Trump has a big personality, and he wants to let that big personality shine through as much as he possibly can. As far as who would I have gotten, I've seen all sorts of things. People had suggested maybe Don Lemon, which I wouldn't have been opposed to that, because I think he would have been able to get control of that situation a little bit better. I think that's probably. I did see one that was kind of funny to me, and if anybody's ever watched the Around the Horn,
Oh,
Tony
yeah.
Reali,
I
I think
saw
he
that
could have been able to do something like that.
He would have been able to push the button, freeze the screen, all of that. That would have been.
Yeah, they should have given him the opportunity to be able to mute mics. That would have probably made that a little bit easier.
I don't even know why that wasn't a thing, because as we've learned that from watching that debate, like nobody was going to let anyone get a word out, especially the moderator. So they should have had that from the jump. Like,
and
the moderator should have been
Wallace,
able
right?
to mute. Yeah.
It's hard to moderate you three fools sometimes, because JV reminds me of Donald Trump sometimes, where he just over talks, right?
Whoa.
And it's hard to reel you guys in sometimes. So I felt Chris Wallace's pain as I'm watching everything go down. For me, a couple things, right? So number one, I think they should have just went balls to the wall shit show. I personally would love to see Gordon Ramsay moderate the damn thing.
Oh my God!
Oh, really?
Gordon Ramsay
Really?
would
Okay.
have shut them down in 2 seconds. Right? But that would have been hilariously entertaining for me, right?
That
And then
would've
it
been
would have been
wild.
more under control. And then another thing too, you said that they kept talking over each other. He kept saying, "You guys got 2 minutes." Show the public a 2-minute timer.
That would have
Real.
been so
Know
much
what 2
better.
minutes looks like, and then just go full WWE Royal Rumble style. Give me the final 10-second countdown, right? And then a loud ass buzzer when the 2 minutes is done. Give me that. You know what I'm saying? So that way I know when they need to shut up, but then they also know time's up. JV, what you got?
They should have did like Jerry Springer and had the little mud pool, and after the 2 minutes,
Oh
Stop it.
Oh my God, you're ridiculous.
at the rate they were going, that's the level they were on.
I mean, it
JV,
did
bro.
remind me of reality TV for sure. I mean, why not just have Samuel L. Jackson at this point? He would have just been cussing
Oh,
everybody
no.
out. I mean, It was a mess for sure, but I mean, you got it. I would say my only critique of Chris Wallace is that he did finally try to get Trump in order, but he did it about an hour into the debate. I feel like he should have been a little bit more vocal. But again, when you're the moderator and you're in such a polarized, political atmosphere, what do? Because if you're trying to tell Trump to hush up too much, now you're leaning Biden. If you're telling Biden to be quiet too much, or you switch off his microphone, now you're pro-Trump. Plus, Chris Wallace works at Fox News, so he already got that little cloud around him. So
Right.
He did the best that he could. I mean, what can you do in a situation when the president came out there just ready to go? And that's just what it was. He had no intentions of debating policy. He was just going to try to, get up under Biden's skin, and he got under everybody's skin, it seems.
Barely did that. Barely debated policy.
Right. Like,
You mentioned getting under Biden's skin, right? So let's kind of talk about that for a second, right?
Yeah.
So one moment that stood out to me was when Trump was talking about Biden's son.
Yeah.
Right? And you could see in Biden's face the emotion, right? The anger. He was letting Trump's words get to him. He's very passionate about that, right? But think about it. So, let me ask you a question real quick. If somebody was to come at your family member like that, right, on that type of stage, even, how would you react?
I'm actually really proud of Joe Biden and how he held himself, because the whole time I was watching it, I was sitting here like, oh, treat his motherfucking life. But then I was like, you know what? As a strong politician point of view, you have to hold yourself a certain way and counteract it. And that's exactly what he did. He let Trump get that nonsense out of his mouth. And then he was like, can I speak now? Because it was my 2 minutes. And he did. And he told Trump to be quiet. And then he gave his spiel and he moved on. He kept his composure in the way that he needed to. And I think he achieved that, because that's what people are looking for when somebody attacks you personally. When it comes to political debates, they want to see how can you hold yourself when it involves you. Because if you can't hold your composure in those moments, how are you going to represent a whole world of people? So I thought he did good.
JV, personal attacks. So again, this is my first ever debate I've watched, right? Are personal attacks like that common?
Not that deep. Normally, not that deep. Normally, you'll see quick whips about each other. Somebody might make a whip about a policy that you did. That's what they call it in the political realm. You may see a little back and forth. We saw that with Al Gore and Bush back in 2000. We saw it, in 2004 with John Kerry. So you'll see a little bit of that. John McCain and Obama, they had little jabs at each other back in, 07 leading into 08. But it was nothing that deep where you're talking about one son that is dead. He died while serving this country. And then you make a quick little comment about the other son who battled drug addiction. I think a lot of people, if you are just a Republican, not necessarily a Trump supporter, if you're a Republican, I think you saw that in that.
You would have saw through the shadiness.
Yeah, I think you saw that, and that left a bad taste in your mouth. And I do commend Joe Biden when he looked at the camera and was like, "Yeah, my son did have an addiction."
Yeah, he owned it.
And he owned it, and then talked about how his son pulled himself up, and he even connected with America, particularly white America to some extent. Hey, you have a family member, I'm sure, who's dealt with, drugs or whatever. And I think he really connected with people in that regard. But what I would have loved to see, you want to talk about being ratchet, I would have loved to see Biden do all of that, but then clap his hands and say, "But I'm still from Stratton, so if you want to meet me,"
I was waiting for it. I'm like,
right. Come on, I wanted Joe to look at him and say, "Look, all right, I'm still from Stratton, though. We can get it cracking." And I think everybody would have. That would have been it.
Davey, is while the whole time I was watching that part where Joe said his part, and Trump was just sitting there doing his little face, I was just hearing in my head Sean in the audience going, "Come on, Joe, get him, Joe."
Right.
Oh my God.
Let's go, man.
Waiting to hear that. Literally, when I was watching that debate, I was like, because, the audience can't make any noise. They're not allowed to make any kind of grunts or anything. So I feel like I have to make up in my head, if there was an audience there, what would they say?
Oh, yeah. It would have been wild. It would have been wild. Oh, my God.
I was the audience here in my apartment.
It was good for TV. I would say this real quick, Sean. It was good for TV, my friend. I mean, people can walk away and talk about how embarrassing it was and this, that, and the third. It was all of those things. But you talk about what I would have been doing on a, Tuesday night for an hour
Right.
and a half. That was good TV. I was cracking up laughing, but it was sad at the same time.
Bro, I haven't laughed that hard in a long time, right? Because everything was like just so wild and unexpected, right? And maybe debates like that should be a little more normal the way that it went down, right? Because I mean, there was low blows, there was drama, it was funny, it was chaos. Now, mind you, the world is laughing at us right now.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
That's
Oh
gonna
yeah,
essentially run the country. But for 90
Right.
minutes, if you just take it for what it is in that bubble of
Right.
pure entertainment, I was sports entertained.
oh
Put it
yeah.
like
Yeah,
that.
You know
Yeah,
what?
for
You know
sure.
what, Sean? That's probably the only thing about politics that I will give my time and attention to. Sadly, I mean, you can criticize me all you want. I've
Mhm.
said I'm not a political person, but when it comes to watching the debates, that's something I will take part in because I personally feel that is the only time you will get to see someone in their true colors as like a politician trying to run for president. You know, because as the moderator states in the beginning, you know, you don't know the topics that I'm going to ask. Nobody's informed you about what we're going to talk about. I
Mhm.
want to hear your personal
It's
account, your
just-
point of view. Nobody can rewrite this stuff out for you ahead of time. So it's
Right.
it's true form of what these people are thinking. And I love that because it does show, you know, how does this person talk and represent themselves on a daily basis without help.
Something else that stood out to me, Aaron, and I wonder if it stood out to you too, right? It stood out to, I think, everybody. I saw it all over my timeline, right? Was when Trump was like, yeah, you know, Proud Boys, you know, stand back and stand by. Right now, a couple things about that. Number one, first Chris Wallace asked to denounce white supremacists specifically.
Yep.
And I don't know if you guys peeped this, but Joe
Ooh,
Biden's
his
actually the
face.
one. Joe Biden's the one who actually called them Proud Boys. I don't know if you guys heard that.
Yeah, I
And
heard that.
Trump repeated that, right? Trump heard it and then went in.
Yeah.
And then he had a little Southern twang too, which I was like, who the fuck?
Yeah.
This guy from New York.
But Aaron, did that stand out to you, bro?
Oh, that stood out to me a lot. I think I went through and retweeted like 15 different people and then tweeted my own thing about it. It's insane to think. He sat there, he heard the question the first time, but then he asked, want to put a name to it?
Right.
Because he was waiting for that. He was
What
waiting
would
for
you
that
like me to
little,
call him?
what would you like me to call white supremacists? He said white supremacists. I said that exact word, white supremacists, and he was like, and then he heard Joe Biden say Proud Boys, and he was like, okay, I can stick to that one because that's not majority of my fan base. That's what it was.
Yeah.
You could tell that's exactly what he did. He did not want to denounce his majority fan base because that would lose him votes.
Yeah. And the Proud Boys are actually, just for everybody that's watching, the Proud Boys are actually a group. Like,
Yeah,
so
they're a group.
They're you know, a group with that. They're like the nice clan, if you will. Basically,
I did not
Yeah,
know
they are.
that.
That's literally what they are.
No, seriously.
That's exactly what they
No,
are.
seriously, they
Okay.
don't walk around burning crosses or nothing like that. But they're just regular, you know, white men. But when you step up to them with their MAGA hats on, they come in packs. Like they're like white gangs, like a white gang, if you will. And they
Oh my
talk all kind
God.
of craziness. If you ever watch their videos on, you know, YouTube or whatever the case may be. So yeah, that was something that he couldn't even just say for 1 minute. No, that's not the kind of president that I am. You know, I did not.
No.
He
Oh, no.
struggled the
He
most
has to be
in
let it
that
know.
part.
He has to
So-
let it be known that, well, you know, I'm not going to denounce them because
Yeah.
that's who my people are. That's who
But
I am.
Chris Wallace did a really poor job, I thought, of following up on that.
Yeah.
No, he didn't. No, I would
I
disagree.
don't think so.
I would disagree.
Okay, go ahead, JV.
He actually said when Trump was like, "Who?" and then Chris Wallace said, "The white supremacists. Will you
Okay.
denounce white supremacy?"
But I'm talking about the follow-up piece. After
I'm
he
talking
said
about right
Proud Boys,
after that.
no, after he said Proud Boys stand up and stand by, Chris Wallace should have then said, "What do you mean?"
Okay, I
Yeah.
give you that.
That's what I wanted.
But I think, as a moderator, you got to remember that as Chris Wallace did a good job in the sense because that's what America left out with. We left with our president, the president of everybody in America, whether we voted for him or like him or not.
Right.
People to stand up or stand back and stand by. And what I visualized was, you remember back in the day when we were in social studies class and they used to show black people trying to vote, and then you had the people with the guns and all of that at the voting booth.
Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
what
And they used to do like this, like go ahead and vote as they watching.
Right. I could see like that being a reality in some of these southern states where you can carry and all of that. I can see
Mhm.
that being on the news where somebody is saying,
And
hey, we're here at the voting booth live in Jackson, Mississippi, and you got white folks with guns.
and a further
The
point
poll
on that.
watchers, the
Sorry,
poll
the poll watchers. The thing that he said at the end, he urged his supporters to watch
Right.
these people while they're voting. You what you said, it hits the nail right on the head, JV, is that could end up being a reality just because it was a call to arms by the current sitting president.
which is
Right.
pure madness.
And JV and Aaron, based off that, the whole time I was sitting here thinking, because I have really been trying to decide, do I want to go vote in person or do I want to do the mail-in ballot? And
Mhm.
after hearing that, I was just like, you know what? Last time I voted, I had the worst experience. And so I was like, maybe I should save myself the trouble and do the mail-in ballot, because last time I went voting, it was so uncomfortable. And there were so many people there, like, trying to push their views on me. And I was like, this is illegal. You cannot do this. This is like supposed to be a safe space. And not a single person did a goddamn thing. And
Quick
I was
question,
just
Mary
like,
Claire.
"Whew,
Was that here in Illinois or was that in?
yes, it was in
Texas?
Naperville.
Oh
It was
my
in
God.
Naperville. Yeah,
Oh,
I was
So
so
they were
uncomfortable.
talking to you while you were in line, or like?
Yeah,
how'd that work?
so while I was it was like at a local government building and
Okay.
something like that. And I actually walked there. And while I was walking there, I saw a bunch of people. They were wearing like their
Make
they were
America
just
Cowboy
wearing
great.
a bunch,
shirt.
really, yeah. So they were wearing a lot of stuff, and I was just like, that's weird. I would assume they wouldn't let you in wearing that, but okay. So then I get in line, and I'm like only a couple people away from the little box to go in and vote. And this guy just starts going off about Republican parties and how Donald Trump is going to save us one day. And I was just like, what the hell? And he just went off on a rant. And I looked at the lady working the ballot boxes, and she didn't say anything. And I was like, isn't this illegal? Like, I thought you could get kicked out and like fined and everything.
It depends. It depends. So it depends on the place, but mostly you can have people standing outside of the voting area saying, hey,
No, this was a really tight room, is what I'm
This
saying.
is
It was a
insane.
one room, and there
Okay.
was lines in 4 voting boxes, and you
Gotcha.
waited in line to go into the box.
gotcha. But it's not uncommon for, if you just say anybody going out there to go vote, it's not uncommon if you're walking up to the courthouse and people are standing outside with their Biden and Democrat stuff or Trump and their Trump stuff saying, hey, you should vote for so-and-so for governor. I mean, you should vote for so-and-so for judge. None of that is uncommon. I think the problem is that you can't really do that inside of like the actual
Yeah.
voting area. That's where you kind of blurring the line. But yeah, I mean, I remember when I did early voting this year, in the primaries, I was walking in Matson, Illinois, and the lady was handing me all these brochures, and I was like, girl, I already know who I'm voting for, Kim Fox. We corrupt, but we gonna keep it blue. And, you know, that's what we did. But, you know, I was like, Justice Smollett, Jussie, who they do it for their people, we gonna do it for ours. But, yeah, that's what
Okay.
happened. Yeah.
So that, I don't know, that whole concept of poll watchers to me is, I never heard of that before either. But I damn sure don't like the tie-in between the Proud Boys and the poll watchers, the way that he made it come across.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
Mhm.
And then the next thing that kind of threw me was when they talked about the coronavirus, right? And so my hope was, all right, let me learn about somebody's plan.
Nope.
How are we gonna get our
No
lives
plan.
back? How's the
Nope.
world gonna get back to normal? I didn't hear anything other than the vaccine is coming soon, whatever the fuck that means.
Mhm.
And the fact that Joe Biden wears the
As early as
he wears the biggest
November.
masks Trump's ever seen. And so when he talk
Right.
about
And that Donald Trump reiterated that it's quote unquote, you know, the China virus and it's China's fault. And I was like,
Right.
okay.
bro.
Oh, the
Yeah,
China
he
plague,
does
if I'm
China
not
plague. That's a
mistaken.
new one.
Oh my
I've
God.
heard
He
that.
did.
That's a new one right there.
That's
So
good.
first thing, when he talked about Joe Biden wearing the biggest mask, right? I immediately pictured Joe Biden in a cane mask or in like the Scream mask or some stupid shit like that. I was like, bro, what?
What is
What
going
are we
on?
talking about? But ultimately, I didn't learn anything. Maybe I'm alone though. Maybe I missed the message. Aaron, did you take anything away from either candidate talking about the pandemic?
Absolutely not, man. Only thing was how Trump would sit here and talk about how he's done such a great job and how the American people loves the job that he's done. And there was really no sort of plan put in place and then Biden would talk about how he shut down the economy, and then Trump would say, oh, you'd have more people dead. But it was sort of just like, how do I put this off on the next
Right.
person? How do I make this person seem bad? Rather than, okay, well, here's how we're going to take care of this. Here's how we're going to get us to a good place as far as the virus goes. And it seemed so ridiculous. And I left that part just thinking, neither one of these guys has any fucking answer.
No, that's why you can't, but that's really why you can't take a debate for the time to learn everything about what they represent in politics, because
Very true.
it is literally the whole point of the debate, like I said, is to get purely like a taste of what this person is like. You can't go in there expecting you're going to learn everything about their policy reforms and whatnot, because they're being attacked by somebody on their left or right, and that's going to trigger you to go a different direction. You're not necessarily going to sit there and have 2 minutes clear as day to put your plan out. Now, if they had the muted speaker, I guarantee you probably would have got more out of Joe Biden. But, you know, the whole time he even tried to attempt to say anything, he got thrown off his boat, and then he had to give some generic answer of this is I would have had a better plan, you know?
JV?
So I don't deny it.
I was going to say, you know, your typical debate, that's what you normally have, right? Sean, you said this is your first debate that you watch. So if you ever get a chance to watch a real presidential debate, you go back to, you know, your 2012s, your 2008s, stuff like that. Those were actual presidential debates where the moderator would ask, what's your policy to deal with the recession? Obama would say what he feels, the late John McCain said what he felt, and then you as the American voter or potential voter thought, okay, this is the way I'm going to go. I think with Joe Biden, where he get a couple of cool points is I like the fact that instead of trying to engage with Trump completely with all the shenanigans Trump had going on, Joe Biden continued to look in the camera and talk to the American
I love that.
people.
I love that.
And what you have to remember is coming into this debate, Trump has been down in every poll that's imaginable. Now, we know we can't really trust these polls. We saw what happened in the last election. But the reason why Joe Biden won the Democratic nomination was because he was more likely to get those white voters that were on the fence. I like Trump policies, but I don't like his styles, but I could see myself voting for Joe Biden, right? So Joe Biden was the ideal candidate for the Democrat Party, and he's been in a 7-point lead forever. So not to be long-winded, but I love the fact that Joe Biden really engaged with the American people. So when Aaron says like, oh, well, dang, you know, when it came to the coronavirus, I don't know if either one of these guys really had a plan. Joe Biden kind of gave you that idea by saying, hey, look, he's been the president. We got 200,000 people dead. The economy is up in the air. Do you want 4 more years of that? And I think people would rather check Biden and say, hey, you know what? I don't know what his plan is, but I know this ain't what I want. And so if you're Biden, that definitely played into your favor. Trump was supposed to come into this debate hot and try to deter you away from understanding what's happening in America. But the problem was is that I think even with his own base, he kind of turned some people off with that.
Yeah, I agree.
So I agree with that 1,000%. So we know America also the answer to make a reference to your point, right? I didn't expect to know their whole plan. I expected some sort of general direction from either one.
Yeah, I mean, from previous debates that I've watched, like with my mom and stuff, it either gets to the point where it's so boring that you stop connecting, and sadly enough, even though I didn't learn much about what they actually wanted to do to make a difference, this one was so captivating because I was like, ooh, what you gonna say about that? Ooh, and then I was like really drawn in that I sat there and watched the whole thing clear cut. Whereas past debates, you know, yeah, maybe you might learn a little something more. But like JV stated, you know, it's all about how you direct the questions, because this time around the moderator kind of, I felt like he asked the questions where he involved both parties like very deeply, and he almost provoked them to get that way, if that makes sense. I don't know, you might disagree with that, but the way the questions are formulated, I felt like, well, you're really asking for the other to get really
think
heated.
that was Chris Wallace's plan. If you think about it, if you ever watch his interviews, Chris Wallace, he gave it to you very hard. Whether it was,
I don't know Chris Wallace like that, but maybe, that's why. That's why he formulated those questions like that. Because I was like,
for sure,
that's rough.
That's Chris Wallace style. Like, you know, he gave it to Clinton really hard. You know, in the interview that he did with Clinton, even though he's on Fox News, you know, he gave it to Bill Clinton really, really hard in the interview. That sounds weird.
Word.
I'm like, you good, bro, or what?
You know what I mean? Yeah, but the point that I'm making is that that's Chris Wallace's style, that he's a very strong interviewer in that sense, and in this case, a moderator. I guess I got a question for all three of you guys. A lot of you all are kind of new into politics and that kind of thing. In the end of the day, when it's all settled, where do you think this leaves America? Like when everybody wake up and we get off Black Twitter, and we laugh at the memes and all of that. I'm gonna start with you, Sean. Where do you feel like this leaves America the day after?
I mean, it leaves us in no better position than we were the day before, right? The thing that to my understanding is people have the issues with both candidates, obviously, right? And for somebody like me, like I was hoping to be swayed one way or another, but the way that Trump was talking or over talking Biden the entire time, right? Biden had his composure in the beginning, but then kind of lost himself. I feel like midway through air, stopped breathing so heavy in the mic, bro.
I'm far from the mic.
Shit. Like I hear you, bro.
What?
That's a good thing he's alive.
You would never last. You would never last in the debate, Sean.
Right, exactly, right.
Like, what are you?
Thank you, Mary
You would
Claire.
come out with some shit like that, and everybody,
Thank you, Mary
that's
Claire.
really what
shit.
you're worried about right now?
Mary Claire,
But anyways,
I
listen,
agree.
Get your point out. Get your point
Get
out.
your point
We're no better. We're no better than the fuck we were yesterday.
Okay.
0.
Mhm.
Well, all right, Mary Claire, tell me
Yeah,
when you woke up.
necessary.
When you woke up this morning and the debate is over with, you're somebody that always say, "Hey, you know what? I'm not big into politics, this, that, and the other." How do you feel about this now? Not necessarily just at the presidential level, but do you feel like this would make people kind of like yourself want to be more engaged with politics, or?
I don't necessarily think it would make people want to be more engaged, because I felt like, I mean, I don't consider myself totally cut off from politics. I just get highly annoyed with it because I try so hard to push my views and it goes nowhere. But, I've accepted, like, I'm still going to have my part, but am I big into it? No, I'm not going to drain myself. But I don't think watching that debate is going to make people who aren't currently involved in politics get more involved. Now, I do think it did emphasize for some people the composure of the candidates and, what could we be looking at for the future if we either vote 4 more years or put somebody new in the position. And for me, it made it very clear, like what direction I'm steering. So I just hope maybe people who were so-called on the fence, or, man, I don't know. I don't really know how some supporters feel about Trump right now after watching the debate. So I want to get more of a feel right now of, okay, how did Trump supporters feel after he, said what he said on the debate? I'm more curious of that. You know what I'm saying?
4 years, hoping 4 more years, regardless, right? We get some like young-minded person
Yeah.
to run for
But
president.
see,
I'm so tired of these
Can
old
it be,
you
motherfuckers,
can it be
really
man.
somebody in the
that
late
happening,
40s or
right?
something?
Do you
Like,
really see that happening right now? Like, as close as we are to election, do you feel like somebody's just going to come out of the blue?
I don't know
think
anything
No,
based
no,
on
at
what I
this
watched
point,
yesterday. I know
no.
nothing.
Well, this is what I said. Aaron, I'll definitely bring you in. From my
Mhm.
thought process, I look at it from this perspective. I think young people in our demographic should look at the debate and then look at everything that's happening in the country, whether it's Breonna Taylor and the Attorney General, what happened there in Kentucky, same thing with Minnesota and George Floyd. I think that we should realize that our voice is so powerful that we shouldn't just tell people go vote. We should kind of explain why. We elect all these people.
Mhm.
And so I feel like from the personal local level, like everybody is so upset about what happened with Breonna Taylor in Louisville. But you guys elected that attorney general. You guys elected that governor. You guys elected those judges that sit on those benches. So it's kind of like, don't be upset when it all blow up in your face, no matter how ugly it may be, right? So
Or they didn't vote, right? Or they didn't vote.
Or they
Yeah.
didn't vote at all, right?
Right.
So I think that to kind of piggyback off what Mary Claire was saying, I think if you watched that debate and you just left that and was like, what the heck is this? But these are people who are appointing Supreme Court justices. These are people who can, a party that is, overall winning this, got the Senate in control. You got a lot of Republican governors, Democrat, whatever, however you feel about it. I think younger people should take this as a moment to say, I need to be more proactive, because these are people who are making decisions that's affecting my life. I mean, and Aaron, I would even ask you, so where do we go from here? Whether it's Biden or Trump, as the younger generation, where do we go from here?
I say vote, like you said, JV, because I got a person who I follow on Twitter who was basically making jokes about the entire debate as it was going on, and then at the end of it, all she took from it was that she's not voting at all. And I think that's the wrong message to take from it, is that we do need to vote. Even if it's sort of a lesser of two evils this time, maybe we start voting in those local elections a little more often. Maybe we start voting in those primaries to get the candidate that we want actually out there. That way, when it comes time for debates, we can see the stronger candidate sort of rise up rather than seeing the less weak candidate rise up.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying?
No, I agree with that wholeheartedly. And it just seems like if Republican, and this is the crazy thing about Trump, Sean, I'll say this. If Trump truly wanted to win this election without no contest at all he had to do was a couple of things. First of all, you denounce white racism. You do that off the top. But you go to the black voters, because a lot of young black voters, not necessarily like the older people like our parents or grandparents, they're Joe Biden, they're going to stay there. But that young swath of black voters who feel like, whatever, you talk to those young people and explain why you could be better for them and make their life, quote unquote, great again. And then you
But he did the exact opposite of that, JV.
And that's
He
my
was
point.
Literally like, he was
That's
literally
my
like,
point.
I represent black people in the best way possible. And I'm not even black, but I was just
I was
like,
cringing. I was
wanna
cringing.
see
It was so
I wanna
cringy.
see every
Yeah.
black person's face right now because I know they are not in agreement with it. They cannot be. And
Not at all.
you know, the crazy thing is though, I've talked to people here in Texas who are like, no, I would much rather support Trump than anyone else. But I it's like, you know, I get that. I get that you feel that way. But do you think Trump is specifically catering to the black community? I don't think so. And I don't think that's why they're voting for him.
No, not at all. I mean, I think a lot of people are voting for Trump because, truthfully, a lot of his policies and ideals aren't impacting them. You know, they're looking at it from an economical standpoint, which I can understand that, you know, to have a great country, you have to have a great, you know, economy. But look at the coronavirus. Like, you have a lot of people who still believe like that's not really a thing. But then when their grandma gets sick and is half dying, then they're like, oh my God, we should all wear masks. Like, I see that all the time here in Arkansas. It's the funniest thing ever. And it's just like, you know, they go around talking about the COVID-19 is not a real thing. But then when their grandma's half dead, I'm on Facebook and now everybody, oh my God, just wear a mask. It won't hurt you. Just wear it at the dollar store. And it's like, where have you been?
A little too late.
Right.
A little too late.
No, I'll just conclude by saying I really just hope everybody took a lot from this debate, knowing that we can shape the future. And Aaron said, you know, people got to get involved in the primaries. You know, you got a lot of people that are like, oh, why, you know, Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders running up there. And it was like, well, where were you guys at when these primaries were going on? Oh, we had a primary. I thought they just pick whoever they want. It's like, that's not the way it works. So hopefully people can take from this and say, all right, this is the low point. How can we go up? Because I hope for the next 10, 15, 20 years, that's not what America is in debates, because that was just, I mean, could you imagine going overseas and somebody, you'd be like, I'm an American, they'd probably look at you and be like, you
They're
live
laughing.
They'd be like, ooh, the ghetto, ooh, child, the ghetto. And I look at them.
Swear to God.
Exactly.
So, JV, that's a very fair assessment, bro, on everything that you just said. And that was some real shit that you said, too. So hopefully everybody who's listening, whether you're older or younger, you vote. But then again, you understand why you're voting and who you're voting for. JV, well said. We'll go ahead and wrap this episode up with our final thoughts, right? It could be about the debate or about whatever's on your mind. MC, we'll start with you.
I'm actually curious for everyone who's been listening to our podcast and watching and listening to this episode. I want you to drop a comment and tell us, like, what did you take from that debate? Like, because I don't know every person in the world, and not many people are out there freely talking about politics and how they feel. Twitter, not really the best way to account for it, but I want to know, what did you take from that debate? What are you going to do about it? Do you plan to vote? You know, you don't got to sit there and say who you're voting for, but I'm just curious, like, how many of us out there are actually going to change our mind, and instead of not voting this time, we are going to vote? And if you're not going to vote, why? What difference do you think it'll make? I'm just curious.
Oh, I love that. How you doing? Can I go next, Sean? How you doing?
Go ahead, Wendy.
How you doing? I want to get applaud Mary Claire, because I thought,
in the building.
you know, I want to applaud Mary Claire. Yeah, everybody give her a round of applause. She was paying attention to the debate and everything, because I thought I was going to have to drag her like I normally do, but I didn't. Mary,
Stop. You don't have me like that. Stop.
bro, I'm just playing. But no, all seriousness, Sean, you know, I already voted. How you doing? So before the debate started, I already put my debate in. I already put my vote in. Like Trump said, I'm going to vote 3 times. No, I'm just playing.
Jesus, man.
I'm voting in every state. That's what I'm gonna do. Every
Look,
time
he gonna find JG that way. He gonna find JG.
He's gonna find it in a creek or something.
Right.
That's something that he said. Some was in a creek.
Trump gonna be like, look at my African American over there. I'm like, how you
Look
doing?
at my African American. He gets it.
Bro, what the hell?
Wow.
serious.
Stop.
But all seriousness, go out there, go vote, pay attention to who's in your local elections. That's what matters. You know, we still want justice for Breonna Taylor. And we can get that kind of justice if we vote for our AGs, we vote for our mayors, we vote for those people. We put these people, the sheriffs, we vote for the sheriffs. I don't know if people realize that we vote for all of these things. So if your sheriff department ain't acting right, your AG not acting right, your mayor acting a fool, your
You
governor,
not acting right.
right? You know what I'm saying? Vote for these people. Know what they
Vote.
stand for. Don't be sitting up here, I'm good. They gonna pick whoever they want to pick. And then that's why you look as crazy. Still information.
Facts. Aaron, what you got, big fella?
I want to give a special shout out to Daniel Dale from CNN last night, because all throughout that debate, The man was fact checking everything that Trump and Biden were saying, and a lot of it you could see that Trump was sitting here lying or he was speaking with baseless claims, and that sort of helped me sort of put in context what was going on in the debate in real time, essentially.
Oh yeah, Daniel, he a G. But he messy though. He be like, let me tell you, Trump lying about this, Trump lying about
That's
that.
exactly what it was.
Hey, that's what we need
That's
in
what
this
it was
world.
the entire time. I enjoyed that.
Clear-cut answers. That's what we need in this
He
world.
trying to be the next Wendy Williams because he be pulling receipts. He be ready. I be like,
Surely did. Came with articles and everything, and I love it.
I'm like, Daniel, how you doing?
Good call out, Aaron. So for me, another big takeaway that I had was the fact that racial sensitivity training being called racist was the dumbest shit I think I've heard amongst all the dumb shit I heard yesterday.
Yes.
I couldn't believe I had to rewind that shit 3 or 4 times. I was like, wait, what?
I knew
This
that was
man's
going to come out of his
legit?
mouth, though. I knew it was. I knew it.
It threw me. It threw me.
It was insane. It was the most
exactly.
insane thing I heard.
It's the racism for me.
Stop. It's the
Facts.
fake
Aaron-
fan for me.
Aaron, bring us home, bro.
It's the tracks for me. Did y'all see
Oh,
his
you saw that shit, bro? Wait, you saw
Bro, I
this shit?
saw that. Yes, that was a picture.
Oh, this man's tracks, bro.
Can I get one last shout out? Shannon Sharp is so ratchet, and he got to stop. He put a picture of a Trump track, and he was like, because they said Trump didn't pay his taxes or whatever. He wrote off $70,000 to get his hair did. He said Keisha would have did it for $35K, and everybody in the comments was like, I do it for $1,000. I do it for $600. I had his tracks paid. I was like,
Y'all sorry.
Bro.
Oh my God, that's so wild. Anyways, thank you for joining us. If you're watching this on YouTube, please consider subscribing and clicking that bell so you can always know when the latest episode is available. Also, please let us know what you think about the topic by leaving your comments below. We read every single one. Don't forget to look us up on your favorite podcast site. That includes Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and anywhere else you consume podcasts. Our website is linked below. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at HiChicago312. And until next time, peace.
Peace out.
He read that script, didn't he? How you doing?